Hi, and welcome along. I am so delighted that you've decided to join Wayfinders. This is the intro video for the 2024-25 cohort. So as you will have seen, Wayfinders is now a year-long experience. So welcome to the community. We are going to be together all year long. And this video will just give a little bit of background about how the community will work, what to expect, set up the groundwork for some agreements, and just help you orientate yourself in the programme. I've made some notes, so I might occasionally look down. Just stick with me. I want to make sure that I cover everything. And if you've got questions about anything that I say here or anything in general about the programme, how to work with me, just pop those in the comment section below and I will be sure to get back to you. All right, so let's dive in. So the first thing that I want to say is this community is more what in the coaching world would be described as a mastermind. So I've called it mentoring because that's a catch-all term that most people understand in higher education. It's a bit unusual to do that in a group though. So that's because it's really a mastermind program. What that means is, yes, you're here to learn from me because mentoring is about having that relationship with somebody who can share their experience, advice, support and guidance, all that good stuff. And it's a group, so you can also learn from each other, because part of the wonderful things about this community is that you're all coming from different institutions, different backgrounds, different parts of university life, different roles. Some of you will have worked in private sector or other sectors before. So it's a big kind of melting pot. And so there's loads that we can learn from each other. And that is, I think, the biggest benefit that past participants have referenced when I've asked them what they have enjoyed about Wayfinders actually is really learning from each other. That means that you also absolutely have the power in this dynamic. And, it can be tempting to come into these kind of settings with our kind of perfectionism and with our expectation that, I am the leader, sort of the mentor, and therefore everything that I say is like gospel or something. It is not by a long shot. I am here learning as long as you are, or as well as you are. And myself and all of the members of the group, we will share our experience, our advice, our questions, our perspectives. And out of that, you might find that there are, suggestions of things that you can try or do. All of that, is really intended generously. Like, we absolutely all want the best for you, for each other. And two, you get to choose. You don't have to do any of the things that any of us suggest. What we're really aiming for is helping to empower you to make the best choice and to use your own sense of discernment to go, that sounds like a good idea, but it's not for me. It won't work in my context, my relationships, my life, with my manager, in my career, whatever it might be. So use your own sense of discernment and intellect and intuition to help you really navigate those suggestions. And if something doesn't work for you, just bin it, throw it at the door. That's absolutely fine. So with that is a really big invitation to, speaking of the door, leave your perfectionism at the door or at the login screen. There is no right way to show up for these calls or as a member of this community. So there's no perfect student or, any of that kind of stuff. Please feel free to just leave all of that at the door, at the login page as you join each call. Having said join each call, maybe you don't join each call. So, we're here every week during term time for the whole year. So Obviously, things will come up, life will happen, work meetings might take priority. Join as much as you can or you feel is useful. There are going to be replays of all of the calls, and so you can join and watch those afterwards. They'll be in the course area. We'll also include captions and transcripts for videos, so if you prefer to have a skim read after the fact, then you can do that too. And if you want to just have your camera off, if you want to participate by the chat, if you want to have your camera on and be very vocal, whatever, it's all really, really welcome here. Please use this space in whatever way is going to support you and your learning and your reflections and your development in the most supportive and productive way. Like, just do you. That's the whole point about Wayfinders, is it's about you finding your way. So obviously that means that I'm not going to come along and prescribe how you participate. Along with that, though, means that everybody has that same invitation. And the reason I mention that is that you might find there are some weeks where you show up, maybe you've had a bit of a crappy week, you're having maybe a series of crappy weeks, you might be feeling rubbish about stuff. And you might join a call and discover that somebody else is having a great time or is celebrating a massive success or is doing something that you feel really envious of. And I really, really invite you to find some space in yourself for that experience, because you will in future, I'm sure, have those up moments when other people are having those down moments. So everybody will get their turn to be the one celebrating. And that sense of envy and resentment is such useful information when you're in a group experience. So it can be really uncomfortable to sit with that and go, oh, this feels yuck, like they're having such a great time and I feel really envious of that. Actually, that's really telling you something about what you want. And that information about what you want can be followed. It's like becomes like breadcrumbs through life, where you can go, oh, I'm really envious because they've got that thing and I actually really want that. And then you can start to think, well, how could I put steps in place that would help me get there? So use all of that insight and information, even though it might feel a bit yuck. And on the flip side, if you are the one having the great time, the brilliant experience, you're celebrating stuff, do that. Please bring it. It can be really tempting in group spaces like this that feel like the intention is developmental. It can feel tricky, and this is my experience, it can feel tricky to take up space and to really own those celebrations when you know that other people are struggling and you feel like, well, they're struggling, so they should have more airtime. That is not it at all. Everybody should have equal airtime, because I think a lot of us have been kind of conditioned not to celebrate, not to really value those things and times and experiences that are going well. You know, it's like, oh, well, look at you being all big for your boots and, you know, things like that that are so unhelpful. Actually, what we want to do through the course of this program is build new evidence for you, each of you, of what you're capable of. And we can only do that by celebrating the good stuff, even the tiny, tiny, minuscule steps forward. We need to celebrate all of it, because that then becomes your new body of evidence of what you're capable of. And out of capability comes competence, and out of competence becomes confidence, which I'm pretty sure is a large part of why you joined the program, right? So don't shy away from sharing. Bring everything, as much as you feel comfortable to bring it all. I'm totally here for it. And I will do my absolute best to hold the space so that everybody gets a good amount of support and airtime, whether they are celebrating or commiserating or having those big emotions, whatever. That's why I'm here. So show up, stay curious. If you're having a big reaction to something, get really curious. Well, what am I feeling here? Why am I feeling it? What has this feeling got to tell me about what it is that I want? And take responsibility. So if I've given a task, if I've suggested that you were going to do something, if you've agreed to that task, as I said, you might not agree, but if you agree to the action, please do your best to complete the action, because it's probably for a really good reason. And the part of you that agreed to take that action is the part of you that we really want to sort of hang on to and strengthen and help that part of you to be really courageous. Now, the next thing to say is this program is trauma informed, and that is tricky vocabulary. I think it's not used a lot in higher education outside of medical programs and potentially education, like primary and secondary education kind of programs. But what it means is that I come to this experience fully aware of the fact that you and I and everybody in the group comes into this with our own biography and history and backstory and experiences and interpretations of life and views, opinions, beliefs, all of that stuff that will be informed by, you know, the messages we've received throughout our lives from family of origin, from school and education systems, from previous employment situations, from current employment situations, from the media, everything. And a lot of kind of online coaching and courses and things like that talk about psychological safety. And I actually think being trauma informed is kind of irresponsible, or it would be irresponsible for me to promise psychological safety, because I, at this point in time, have no idea what psychological safety might feel like, look like, taste, smell like to you, and what might need to go into that sense of safety. And it will be different for each of you, and it would be different for me. So I cannot promise psychological safety in this group. What I can promise is I will do my utmost to create a space for you to bring as much as you feel able to share, where that sharing is respected, where you have dignity, where there will be space. Oh, I feel a bit emotional describing it, actually. But where there will be space for you to call forward that brave part of you, that part of you that knows that you are looking for something different from yourself, from your life, from your career, from your work environment, whatever that is. I will do my best to make this a brave space. So if all you did all year was show up and go, this is crap, and I know it's crap, and I feel bad about it, but I want something different, I'm completely here for that. If over the course of the program you go, this is crap and I want something different, and I'm doing this to get here, that's also great. Whatever that looks like for you, each of you, it's going to be a different experience, and I really, really welcome that, and will hold as much space as I can for those different experiences. So there are two distinct parts to the program. So we've got two different types of calls. So we'll meet weekly throughout term time. The reason for that is mostly that I have a school-age daughter, and so I'm taking the holidays off. But I think, you know, working in higher education, most of us will probably be on a similar kind of academic cycle with those same peaks and troughs. So if those dates don't quite align, I apologise, but just, you know, come along to as much as you can work with your calendar. And the two types of calls that we have are sort of group mentoring calls, where the purpose of those is for each of you to check in, let us all know how you're doing, but also to bring along any challenges that you're facing that you want support to work through, any aspirations that you're chasing. So if you think, well, I really want to get to here, how can I do that? Then, you know, we can help you with that. Things that might come up or have come up for members in the past are things like, you know, how do I get this group moving forward, if they're like working in a project group or a committee structure that's a bit stuck. How do I find the next step in my career? How do I work with my manager better? How do I work with this team member better? How do I broadly just feel a bit more like myself in this time where I'm actually feeling really discombobulated and a bit lost? So it can be all sorts of different things, and those things can change week to week. Just bring along whatever feels present for you in that week where you're like, oh God, I know I'm broadly thinking about changing jobs, but actually I just really need help with this specific conversation with my boss. All good, bring that along. And then the second type of call that we'll have, they will just be in the sort of schedule, and I will publish the dates, so you should have them in the download section. I think it's down there from how this video shows up on the screen. So they will be the workshops that we have once every half term. And the programme for those is currently unscheduled. And the reason for that is there is no overarching syllabus to Wayfinders. That's not really the point of it. So each half term, as we go through our weekly calls, I will be kind of reflecting and thinking, okay, given where people in the group are right now and the things that you're all working on and around, what can I provide that will be helpful for you? And so those topics will change, come, go, flex. Like there might be some resources that are particularly helpful. So not all of those workshops will be really relevant for you, but they probably will be thought-provoking in some way. So come along if you can, catch the recording if you can't come along live. And my aim with those is mostly for them to be quite interactive. So they will be more, I want to say, like workshopy than masterclassy. It's not going to be an hour of me talking and you sitting taking notes. That is not my vibe at all. It will be, come along, I'll give you a bit of teaching. We'll talk about how that applies in your life, what you might understand from it, what you want to do differently based on it, if actually you don't want to do anything different at all, whatever that is. You know, so it's really going to be, here's some information or concept or idea. How do you want to apply that in your own life? And it will always be really applicable to each person as we go through. And then the last thing to mention is if you want to have some one-to-one time with me, that's not currently included in the price of the community membership. This is a change from previous times that I've offered Wayfinders. So if you're a returning member, this is different. So the one-to-one time, or office hours as it was previously called, you can now book that separately on a pay-as-you-go rate. It just makes it a bit easier so everyone can kind of pay for what you use rather than it being included in the overall price. And you can access that. It's £40 for an hour. And there will be a link down below this video for you to use to book that. All right, I think that's everything on my big list. Yes, that's everything on my big list of things I wanted to say. Like I said at the top of the video, you are so welcome here. I'm really looking forward to working with you this year. If anything at all comes up during the course of our time together that you love and want more of, that you hate and want less of, that you find challenging for some reason, or, you know, something that you're like, this doesn't feel great and I don't know why, or I do know why, but I feel awkward about raising it, please bring all of that stuff to me, because I cannot make changes that I don't know need to change. So if it's, especially actually where it's something between you and maybe another member, bring that to me and we can talk about how you want to tackle that, if you want my support, if you want to do it directly, all of that good stuff. All right. Lovely to see you. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in our first group call very soon. Bye.